So just in case you've only joined me recently, what we did cover was kind of a double, triple fold follow up on a couple of human resource blogs that we put out on UpDoc Media blog posts on how to attract top talent, how to retain them, strategies thereof, how lowballing in the job market right now is basically hurting everyone. And I'll let you read the blog on that. But the short story is that by undervaluing your employees and with all the price transparency that's going on because of the internet, you're undervaluing your own company and therefore your own industry. And it's just this terrible snowball effect. The way to fix it, the antidote to the spiral of undervaluation, is value-based compensation. It starts with the employees. It starts with treating your employees as your first customer. It starts with treating them as the one you care about most, because when they care and they are the consumer-facing employee for your company, then your consumers will start to feel cared for, and you're going to start to develop customer loyalty, and there's going to be a positive feedback loop that only adds value within that ecosystem. The example was for the physical therapy industry as a service industry within healthcare, value-based pay you get paid more by doing more, and you get paid more by doing more better. I mean, it's almost too simple and silly, but it still has to be said because healthcare is widely still an hourly paid industry where you get paid more by the hour, typically by sticking around a company longer. Right? Yearly raises, but it doesn't mean that you're actually adding any value to your company or your department. It doesn't mean that you get better clinical results. It just means you've been around. And while we all agree experience is important, I think performance supersedes that. We talked about the evolution of the job market, about how, in the 1940s and 50s, post World War II, there was this starvation of companies for human resources. We just needed labor, people to do anything. So we wanted to keep them on so we didn't lose out to other companies that gobbled up that human resource. But then pretty soon we became not an employee's job market, but an employer's job market. Companies could be very, very selective about who they wanted as part of their company. And so there's going to be all these various requirements, job qualifications, years of experience, level of education, postgraduate or post-professional type certifications, what have you, continuing education, all that good jazz. And they want that now, right? But that's also going away because some of those qualifications describe no one who's actually in the job market. The older style of job qualifications don't really resonate with Gen Xers and Gen Yers. And the reason that's important is because by 2020, that will represent over 70% of the job market. So companies that aren't revamping the human resource requirements on certain types of jobs and positions, specifically four-level leadership and leadership tracks, they're going to be in trouble because there's going to be no one working for them. And the people that are going to be brought in are either going to be too expensive or underqualified from the perspective of actual performance. And, I think in the future, we can look at a refocusing on a trade school style education where it's very specific, laser focused tracks on, okay, I don't need all this extra stuff. I can be lean. If companies like being lean and they make a lot of money that way, why not getting into those companies, through formal training and or education? And there will be well-roundedness, but it won't be done so formally through general education the way it is now, because millennials just aren't going to buy that. They're not going to spend $50,000 a year in college to get that well-roundedness when they can get it for, say, $10,000 or $20,000 and get the same paying or pay grade style jobs. So the last bit of this is something I promised you guys a while back. Was going to be a video blab on my first speaking gig. And it's kind of a good reflection on even where the job market has changed in the last 5 years, actually 6 years or so. So I graduated with my doctorate in 2009. And I was known as the kettlebell guy because I was one of the first in that time frame to revisit kettlebell research as how it affects people during exercise. And mine was primarily in the focus of how does it affect people cardiovascularly? What was your oxygen intake, and how much work were you actually doing? And I didn't expect it to be much because I was really more of a footnote when I presented to the American College of Sports Medicine back in Baltimore, 2010. I just was like, well, I'm just happy to be here. And all of a sudden, I get all these emails throughout the years of, oh, I need to read your research because it's going to be cited on, on my research and all this other stuff. And because of all that, I was invited to speak 2 years in a row at a conference called Speaking of Women's Health, ironically. And it was in San Diego that year in 2010. I believe it was November. And they wanted me to speak about kettlebells and how people can work out with them, be very, very time efficient, burn the calories they need, and move on, versus spend X amount of hours in the gym and so on and so forth. So that was a wonderful experience. And I was basically treated like royalty. And it was so dichotomous for me because even now, and it's not so much a struggle now, that we're closing into the latter half of the 20 teens, but in late 2000s, or, early 2010, doctors of physical therapy, when they came out of school, we still had to, hide almost in our own closets, our own DPT closets, because we had the shiny degree but no experience. And so unless you get that magical 5 years of experience, boy, you're not worth anything. And if you pretend like you know anything or you actually know something, then you're offending people. And you don't want to do that because, well, they're your senior therapist, and that's going to be bad for you. And that's all it was. It was nothing shy of a physical therapy culture of workplace bullying. And the experience I had with this national conference on health was so much different than that. I actually had multiple people that were in healthcare, a couple nurses, social workers, even an NP. They refused to call me Ben, right? They would come here. Nancy, I need to, stay here, Dr. Fung. I need to introduce Nancy, my friend, to you. Nancy, this is Dr. Fung. He's the one speaking on this particular topic on kettlebells, and it was ridiculous. And I was treated so much like a celebrity, so much like royalty. I felt a little bit disjointed, well, that's not how I'm necessarily regarded within my own profession. How come all these other professions, all these other people, and just the public at large is willing to see me that way just by knowing that I have this degree? And, it was a very, very refreshing experience, that knowing that when people see you, just the general public sees somebody that has worked long enough to get a doctorate, that they deserve to be regarded as such. It doesn't mean that they're surgeons necessarily, doesn't mean that they're physicians necessarily. And honestly, I know there's all these arguments about how, well, in the context of healthcare, if you're a doctor, then you better be an MD, or DO, or even DPM. In certain situations, an OD. Oh wait, also a DDS. So there's actually a lot more doctors in healthcare than just the MD, and that unraveling starts to occur. And I think that starts to occur because it's not an argument based on fact or logic. It's actually an argument based on insecurity and jealousy. So back on track, with the public realizing and recognizing and welcoming doctors of physical therapy out there, it's filling a share of mind and attention and space in the healthcare market for an area that's severely underserved in musculoskeletal healthcare, right? We know this. There's so much research out there. There's so many other people that can speak to this better than I can. And I've already seen it change just even in the last 5 years, where, even 5 years ago, if you had an ache, pain, strain, or like something isn't moving right, or I tweaked something, you go to your primary care. But right now, the vast majority of what I see is that healthcare consumers go, oh, I tweaked something in my knee. Well, I'm not going to go to my primary care physician. The guy's an internist, or the guy's a family practitioner. They don't know about that. They're going to give me pain pills and a muscle relaxer and send me home. I'll see him in 6 weeks. It's going to be the same problem. They're going to send me somewhere else. Where is that somewhere else? That's what they're looking for. And I've seen through my first speaking gig that we were at a point where that connection wasn't made, to now it is there. They are seeking for that final link to the dot of, okay, I have an internist that takes care of my internal health. I have an eye doctor that takes care of my, my visual health, not necessarily ocular, because I'm ophthalmologist. I have a dentist that takes care of my dental, my teeth, my oral health. And there needs to be something that fits in that physical health, how I move, if I have physical pain, if I feel sore, if I am feeling physically less able than I used to be. And so I guess the bigger picture of, this reminiscing about my first speaking gig is this whole, well, the DPT is in a better place world, or it's not about the culture of the physical therapy profession. Really, what I think I draw from this is that everything is pointing to this marketplace attention that we need a go-to healthcare provider on physical health. And I think that's why, if you roll that back, that's why there were all these problems, in the workplace, with drama, with, DPT MV, which used to be master's MV, which used to be bachelor's MV, right? And there's even companies that still call it RPT, for registered physical therapist, because they don't want to offend anybody. But it's not that anymore. That it's bigger than us. We have, millions of healthcare consumers to take care of, and we need to be. I'm speaking more directly to, physical therapy audience. We need to be that provider, that fourth dimension provider of physical health. And I'm sure, I want to shout out to our mental health professionals. There needs to be that fifth dimension there too, because that's a big deal that we've really realized in the last couple of years. It needs to be talked about, and we need to talk about it ourselves, right? It rolls back to the whole talk on being paid, being valued properly, for what we do, specifically in physical therapy. If we don't get there, it won't roll back to the fact that we can go to value-based pay, because consumers don't value it, and therefore they won't pay what's required to either your private practices or to your companies to reflect that on your paycheck. So I guess the three-part lab did a pretty good job of wrapping up itself. So thank you for being with me. I'll be uploading this to YouTube, and it's I've been looking forward to getting all these kind of linked together for quite a while. Actually, the first speaking gig thing, I think I wanted to do that probably 3 months ago, but you know how life goes. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and that your celebrations and your families and friends are well. And I'm looking forward to December, and I can't believe it's coming around tomorrow. It's going to be a very exciting month. If you're going to the Combined Sections meeting, UpDoc Media will be there. And don't forget to check out our webinar. There's 2 sneak previews there. One is more dry, but it gives you a lot of good content. The other one's talking about perhaps the most strong business analytic that I've come across to date, taught at the MBA level. It has completely revolutionized the way I've taken a look at not just the marketing aspect of business, but how operations and finances intertwine with marketing, and how businesses should strategically go forward in deciphering threats and uncovering risks, and really revealing opportunities, areas of opportunity that they thought were just stagnant, are all of a sudden magically there. And you follow the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Businesses profit from the change. So again, thank you for being with me. Dr. Bun Fung with UpDoc Media, content you need to know, delivered with clinical precision. Till next time, take care.